this podcast, we will be looking at storytellers, stories, and the reasons that oral storytelling is important in our world today. You would think with all the technology we have available that stories do not have a place anymore, but they are needed more than ever. For in storytelling is where we find truth, we find reality, and we find the heart of what it is to be human. Welcome to the heart of storytelling. My name is Alyssa Curtain, and let's go on an adventure.
Welcome to this week's episode. This week I had the absolute honour of chatting with Jenni Woodruffe, who is a Perth born and bred local who is now in her 80s. She no longer tells stories, but I learned so much from Jenni and thought that she had such a wonderful story that I hope to see it in a book one day. This is a bit of a longer episode because we chatted for about an hour and a half, and it was the first time I wasn't recording it on the Zoom platform. It was the first time I recorded it with my phone, so hopefully the audio quality is still up to a pretty good standard, given that I'm a newbie at this, and hope that it's going well. By the time you hear this episode, I will be a month into my course at Emerson College in the UK, and I hope that while I'm on the other side of the world from where I am, that I'll be able to interview some UK-based or European-based storytellers. But if not, I hope that you enjoy this wonderful interview with Jenni and you have a wonderful time listening to her story. Just a quick note. Jenni was instrumental in the foundation of setting up or being part of the Storytelling Guild of Western Australia. And a lot of the interview I've cut out had to do with the administration and all the parts of the guild setup. And while this information is really valuable for people in Perth in Western Australia, I will keep the raw interview for later generations for the guild and for other storytellers in Western Australia. So that stuff will not go to waste, but for the benefit of the interview, I've made it quite succinct. Welcome to this week's episode. This week I'm speaking with Jenni Woodruffe, who is born and bred in WA and is a storyteller from a long time ago. Hi Jenni, how are you today?
All the better for seeing you, my dear.
Thank you. Can you tell me how you got your start in storytelling?
My start in storytelling, as opposed to a love of children's books, which started a lot earlier than that. But my introduction to storytelling, and particularly the storytelling as a separate art form, probably was when I was appointed to take the place of Maxine Walker, who was a lecturer, and one of the units that she lectured in was I think it was children's literature, but she turned it into a storytelling unit. And so the very, very first story I ever told, as apart from reading, was The Firebringer, because as the lecturer I had to give the students an example of what a told story was like. And this came from a book that I'd had for many, many years called Twilight and Fireside, which had a lot of traditional stories in them. So that's how I came. And one of the exercises I had, which I'm still very pleased about and would encourage lots of others to do, is I put the names of various storytellers into a hat, and the students had to choose which story they would tell. So it was their choice, and they were asked to find as many versions of the stories they could. And in particular, I asked them to pay attention to the illustrations, because so often in our traditional tales, the illustrations have varied. So if we think of Beauty and the Beast, how is the beast portrayed? And at one point, just after the war, the beast was portrayed as a robot figure. In others as a bear, in others as a wolf. It all depends on how what the illustrator feared the most. And so the students had to compare a range of the same story, and if they could find from different countries and where we had them, or they had to research them as much as they could.
What a fascinating activity. And I suppose when we are telling stories, we imagine the monsters and the princesses and everything in our mind, but to make that a visual form then becomes very personal if we put our monster down as a certain way. Yeah, so I guess it comes with as the listener to a story, we have our own biases and things already.
Well, I would say, for instance, there was a person, there was someone standing on a bridge. How many different ways that could be envisaged? Was the person old, young, male or female? Was the person wearing, what kind of clothes was the person wearing? Did the person have a stick or not have a stick? The bridge, was it stone, wooden, covered?
Yeah.
And what was the path like to the bridge? Had it been wending its way through a forest? Was it gravel? Was it macadam? Was it rocky? Was it bordered with trees and foliage? So you only have to say one. And this is the value I find in folk tales, that they seldom use a specific description. It's kind of, because they have been told orally down the centuries and in different cultures, then how it's received by your audience can be so very, very different.
Yeah.
And yet, there is such a great value in listening as a community, whether that's in a classroom, under the stars by a campfire, however the audience or the listener, as I prefer to call it, I think, is perceived. Your understanding is enhanced by the understanding of the community in which, or the audience in which you find yourself.
That's interesting. I've got so many questions. I think, even in fairy tales it's the same, that very
it's
basic.
Especially so
yeah,
in fairy
very
tales.
basic, yeah.
And it's, and I like, fairy tales and folk tales are quite different, but too many people are unaware that there is a difference. So what I like about what some of our storytelling greats, the people who have passed on knowledge to us, they go back to the earliest of times, and when there is a crisis. So yes, we are currently living in a time of crisis. My daughter calls it living on tectonic plates, where everything changes day to day. The wisest among us go back to the earliest times. So yes, for some it might only go back as far as Shakespeare. For others it might only go back as far as the Greeks. But amongst the First Nations of the world, they go back, and particularly in Australia, people have thought that the origins of man have come from Africa and the African nations. But our First Nations people are helping us to go back further and further. And listening to a doco very recently, I think it must have been the opening of the Australian Tennis Open, and there was Yvonne Goolagong Cawley, and she was saying, and she who has done so much and inspired so many Indigenous children, she was saying then, and this was only barely a month ago, she was saying she is still learning about her Aboriginality. So there is still much wisdom for her, and she is still learning, and that was pretty amazing.
I think that's part of being a curious human too, though, isn't it? To want to know of our origins and where we've come from, and I guess story does that. It helps us to find our place in the world and our values and how to be in community and how to, like Neil Gaiman says, to defeat the dragon. Those sort of things.
When you're telling a story, it is so possible to have these hair-prickling
moments. Yeah.
moments.
So, I mean, that's what we would label it as spiritual. Do you want to talk to that spiritual nature of storytelling?
I come from a background. Now, my spiritual journey would be one of a background within the Anglican tradition, but also the Uniting tradition. But also there was a group of women called the Wise Women's Web, and they came from all sorts of backgrounds and rituals and things. So one of those made sure that where we went there was a labyrinth, so we would walk the labyrinth. We also splashed around in the river, and we would in the neck, and we would plaster symbols on ourselves. We would have a little ritual of when we were passing it was like a crowning and the wisdom of the crone and all of that. So we no longer meet, but it was a very spiritual thing. But we danced a lot, we sang a lot. There was creative, no, not creative spirituality, but probably Thingy Fox, whose name I can't remember. So I've got a particular book all about religious spiritual storytelling. I have also discovered that while my background might be more traditional storytelling, more traditional religion, nonetheless, my heritage actually is Jewish. So when we go back, and we go back down the matriarchal line, why yes, my great grandmother was Jewish. So I have always quite unconsciously been attracted to Jewish stories without even being fully cognizant of the depth of connection I have with Jewish stories.
I can relate to that because I'm very attracted to stories of the British Isles and Scandinavia, and I can track Scottish and English an Irish ancestry, but further back than that, I don't know. And my surname, Kurt, is actually a Viking word, so it's very possible that there's some Scandinavian, plus I'm blonde and all that. So I've got the genes and stuff, but I think there is something in that, being able to, being drawn to areas, even though you don't necessarily know that you belong to that. I think we are drawn to stories from that place.
Very definitely.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was pretty wonderful last year, my daughter accompanied me on a following in the footsteps of the ancestors. So when we were in Melbourne, we visited all the sites.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can we go back a little bit? I just want to, you were pretty instrumental, I think, in the WA, the Guild, the Storytelling Guild of WA. Storytelling Guild of Australia, WA branch.
Yeah, that's right. You've got it right.
I've got it right.
Because I was very, very strong about us being a national body. I have always felt that.
Yeah.
And among other things, I realised that because of my journalistic heritage, but also as a librarian, because I'd worked in the accessions department, I've also been aware of how important it is to keep your series together. And I'm also aware, because of Dad, I was very aware of the importance of being a communicator. And thinking about it and thinking we might be talking today, suddenly occurred to me, I have set up so many newsletters that have lasted for a long time. So when I was at UWA, it was a newsletter for the student Christian movement. Then when we were part of the Uniting Church, or before the Uniting Church came into being, I was also responsible for setting up a newsletter there. I was responsible when I joined the Children's Book Council. I upgraded. They already had a newsletter, but I jazzed it up and made it last a lot longer. With the Storytelling Guild, I established the newsletter. With IBI, the International Board on Books for Young People, I established the newsletter there, because how I knew a newsletter was a regular newsletter was vital in keeping a community together. And one of the things about having grown up in a rural town, then I was so aware of the importance of community and what a community could do. So I guess this is why I'm such a fan of Heather Hewitt's Backroads and things like that. I just feel, and I know in just about 1, 2, 3, 4, just about 4 of the printed newsletters I set the mark for, as it were. The digital ones have taken their place. But I'm still old-fashioned enough to think that sitting down with a cuppa and just reading is still a source of pleasure. And I still think you absorb far more, and things disappear. They disappear
very quickly
off the page.
Yeah.
And slip down.
So you helped establish the Guild newsletter. What sort of things were included in the Guild newsletter specifically? What did you put in it to build community?
I made sure we had a very good front page. I made sure that there was factual information.
At this point in the interview, Jenni went to get her copies of the originals, and many times throughout the interview she went to get things that she thought that I would need to see it as being part of the guild. And in this one, she shows me the very first edition of the newsletter.
So that's number one.
Wow.
So number one did evolve.
Yeah.
Because, so what have I got? There's a little quote. A legend is a story that has been told for so many years that no one knows who first made it up. It has passed from storyteller to storyteller, and each has added something until it really does not belong to anyone, or any one country for that matter. That was volume 1, number 1.
When did that come out? What year was that?
August 1987.
87. That's
Yes.
excellent. Yeah.
So,
And how long did that go for, the newsletter?
my records go to 2005.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that Mabel took over, and I think she did a digital copy. Then I wouldn't have kept a record of that.
Yeah. So about 2005.
Yeah, that I was
That
in.
you, yeah, I mean that's a long time.
Not that I necessarily was the editor all through that, but they did keep the same, much the same
The format and stuff.
format,
Yeah.
because when we look through here, see we that wasn't long after that, was it? August 1987. Then in February 1988, we were running a weekend retreat called the Patchwork Quilt from May the 14th to the 15th in 1988.
Wow.
And see, one of the things I learned from Dad, and I learned a lot from growing up in a rural country, because it was my dad's idea to have the first Apple Festival, and that was in April 1954. And he knew that a small town couldn't do that regularly. You have to have breaks. You have community burnout.
Yes.
And this is why you can't, it's wise to spread things out and spread your people out, because they're enthusiastic at first, but the burnout by having things too often is enormous, and that's not always understood.
So to make it sustainable, it needs to be like a long-term
Yes,
planning rather than...
absolutely.
Yeah.
So Dad talked to the shires, both of Bridgetown and Manjimup, and they were part of it. But that's their story, not ours, not the Gill's story. On the other hand, I have to say that a lot of my involvement is influenced by so many different aspects of my background.
Yes.
And the library and all the skills I got as a librarian. And I mean, I was the first junior ever appointed to the Library Board of Western Australia, but by the training I had, because I was in accessions department. So that's why I'm a bit fussy about if you have a newsletter. I want it to go from one year to another, because I see them sitting on shelves.
You want them to be sustainable. You want,
Well, having bitty pieces, which is what they can do now a lot more with MailChimp and things like that.
At this point in the interview, we had a look at the newsletters and looked at what was inside them. And one of the things that it did was to celebrate members' achievements and activities.
That's a really great idea. I like that idea of being able to celebrate.
We celebrated
what
us.
people are doing. Yeah.
We celebrated us.
Yeah. So where did you, in the 80s, where were the locations that you were telling stories? So what were most of the places that you were telling?
Libraries, Melville, Willagee Library, Bicton Primary School, storytelling update. Bigton Primary School, bicentennial celebrations, school holiday activities, Melville Woolajee Library, Subiaco Library, Melville A.H. Bracks Library, Life Be In It, Melville Canning Bridge Library, Nedlands Library.
Wow. So in the same places really that are happening now. So schools and libraries and special events, really, isn't it? Did you have a favourite place yourself to tell stories?
I think now, over the years, it would have to be in Catholic schools because the children there have been taught to listen and they are so receptive. With storytelling, particularly for kindy, pre-kindy, which wouldn't be my favourite age group, I have to admit. I do love adults.
Yeah, okay.
I
was going to ask.
Is putting a nice perfume here.
Yeah.
Because the littlies.
On your feet?
Around your ankles.
Yeah.
So you're used to doing this. But if you're storytelling to littlies, make sure. Because a lot of the little ones, particularly those that come from very fashion conscious homes, they pick up they can't wait to get close to you. They love getting close to you.
Great trick. Put some perfume on your ankles.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
So there's lots of things.
So what year did you start telling? What was it when you said
87.
That was the first time you started telling stories? So interesting, about the same age as me.
Yeah.
So what do you think it's something that that if you're a young person and telling stories, that's awesome. But do you think that discovering or coming to story as an older person has its value as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have, I was telling someone yesterday, we have, he talks about the midlife.
Okay, Once Upon a Midlife.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Alan Janin. Yeah, I feel like it's in this middle age where it's like life has stopped being a game and we get to be in control.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're not just playing along with whatever we've been told to do, and it's a time of real empowerment, I feel.
Yes.
And I think perhaps that's why I'm not the only one in the middle ages coming to story again. Yeah. Oh, you found it.
But yes, I know exactly where things are
on the shelf. They've got a place.
They have a place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just so for listeners, Jenny's got a wonderful library of stories, and folk tales, and fairy tales, and myths, and all sorts of wonderful things there. You did mention that you love telling for adults. Can you tell me more about that? What is it you love telling for adults?
The reason I love telling to adults is because when you're telling to children, they listen with awe and wonder. But when you're telling to adults, they listen with wisdom and understanding. That is quite a different experience. And there's either nodding their heads or there is something in the tale that they're responding to in a different kind of way.
Can you explain that a bit more?
Because the story awakens something within them, and it might be like giving a little tick to their life experience.
So some validation.
Validation, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And with children, it's a bit more awakening the imagination, I guess, is what you're saying. Yeah.
That's what they're left with awe and wonder.
Yeah. And
so much of the trashy stuff around is not awakening an inner wonder with them.
I completely agree. Yeah.
And so that's why the child who uses sticks and stones and has only one doll, if that, has awakened has within more wonder, and it develops their imagination so much more.
Well, this podcast is called The Heart of Storytelling, and I think we are moving closer to what I think you think the heart of storytelling is, but could you tell us what you think the heart of storytelling is?
It has to come from the heart of the teller. It has to come, and it is received into the heart of the listener. And gosh, it's a bit like that first explanation I had. The story encapsulates a mystery that touches the listener deeply, and it can be a hilarious tale told at a pub that has been passed down from one pub teller to another teller. And humour is so essential to us as humans as well. So when I talk about the story having a mystery, it could be a slapstick, banal kind of mystery, but that we all find hilariously funny. Does that?
That's your definition, and I like the idea of a mystery. And the heart resonance, and that was deliberate in my selection for the name for the podcast.
Yeah.
Because in my limited experience,
it has to.
If I'm not connected to my heart,
yeah,
and I don't love the story to begin with, I'm not going to be able to tell it.
No.
And then the reaction from other people that I've had in very limited experiences is a heart resonance.
It is the heart resonance.
Yeah, and that for me was a deliberate choice of name for the podcast for that reason. So why, it's a very modern technology heavy world. Kids play on devices more than they play outside or develop imagination. So what do you think, why do we still need oral tradition in our modern society?
Because there is that longing for depth and mystery in all of us.
And do you think we don't have that depth in society at all, or how do we lose that?
Well, by being too busy for a start.
Yeah.
I now live in a retirement village. Many of us are looking at our end of life, and we would like to see more of our children and our grandchildren. We would like to share more with our middle-aged girls, but because they are run off their feet, and this is what worries me about the young mums. They're getting their information not from wise old grandmothers, but from the latest device. The kids know how to use the devices. Where is the loving eye-to-eye contact going on between our young ones and their parents? And they're not, and we can all put a stop to it. We can say no.
Yeah.
We may not be popular, and you have to be wise enough, and we can get diverted.
Oh, storytellers do that. we move down paths and go, oh, there's a shiny thing over here, I'm going to tell this bit. Yeah. So have you got any memories of a really, I'll say memories and a memorable storytelling experience where you go, that was just the best experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was storytelling most of this at the Greek school, and I was standing there, and there was this marvellous auditorium, you know, like ancient Greek theatre.
Oh, wow.
You know, really, that's not the right name, but anyway.
Like an amphitheatre?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the word. It was an amphitheatre, and class after class came that weren't going where everybody else in the school had gone, so they were all there. And the sun was shining down on me, and I don't even know what I told, but just standing there telling a story. I don't even know which story it was, but I was in heaven. It was wonderful.
Yeah, wow.
And that experience has stayed with me. And another experience, somewhat similar, was when I was doing a workshop with Ray Ormadai somewhere, and I was a queen, and I have never felt like that before. I was a wonderful queen. It was fun. I was really transformed, and yes, that was a really great experience.
So you were transformed through the facilitation of the workshop, or you as a participant?
At that moment, I was the queen, so
wow,
I was playing the role of a queen.
Yeah.
But I actually was. It was like I was transformed and was a queen.
Yeah, amazing. It's very special.
Very, very special. So that, like, in terms of memories of me producing something orally, they were too. And I have had other lovely, I would say I stopped telling basically for health issues.
Yeah, okay.
Because I would say I stopped telling due to the aging process, due to...
Yeah, okay. Do you miss it?
I must miss it, and I don't dwell on it because I'm busy getting on with things. And the things I'm trying to get on with is my own story. But I've got about 60 years still to go.
So you are doing an autobiography.
I am doing my
Yay!
autobiography.
Yay!
And people have said they want to see it, and I'm thinking, I don't know about that. It's mainly because my son has asked me.
Once you go, your story will be lost, and you have a fascinating story. I'm really interested in your life story, and when you're ready to publish it, I'm happy to help you.
Yeah, well, that's good, because this is what I haven't, and this is what I haven't had for a long time in the Guild.
Yeah.
I haven't had anyone interested.
Oh, no, I'm fascinated. I'm really interested.
And I've got, so it's a love of story that I realise means more to me than a love of books. I love books.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I realise that some of the programs I listen to because I love the story of what's going on.
Yeah. I only have one more question for you before we finish up the official interview bit. And that is, what advice do you have for emerging and beginner storytellers, for people like me?
I suppose I was just going to say, think about what you love.
Think about what you love.
And listen to your heart. See, it's Ruth Sawyer. This quote from Ruth Sawyer I'd like to give. I think I can put my finger on it straight away.
Okay.
I'm going to read this to you. She said, "Every traditional storyteller I have heard, and I have gone into many countries to find them, has shown above everything else that intense urge to share with others what has already moved him deeply. So it must be not a clever sharing of the mind alone, but rather a sharing of heart and spirit." So the spirit has to come. I think storytelling must do this if it is to endure. To be a good storyteller, one must be gloriously alive. It is not possible to kindle fresh fires from burnt out embers. And you asked me why I stopped storytelling, so I think I was burnt out. I have noticed that the best of traditional storytellers whom I have heard have been those who live close to the heart of things, to the earth, the sea, wind, and weather. They have been those who knew, and this is important, they have been those who knew solitude, silence. They have been given unbroken time in which to feel deeply, to reach constantly for understanding. They have come to know the power of the spoken word. These storytellers have been sailors and peasants, wanderers and fishermen. They have said with old Ivan in the story of the deserted mine, earth, water, darkness, they are all in God's hands.
Oh, what a beautiful way to end our chat today, Jenny.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. I really could listen to you for hours.
And I could go on with a good listener, and that is what I haven't had.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, that's our episode for today. I hope you've enjoyed learning about storytelling and folktale, fairytale, myth, legend, or personal tales, wonder tales, all sorts of stories, and the art of storytelling and why we really need to continue using it today. You can find more information about me at alyssacurtain.com or at Alyssa Curtain Stories on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and TikTok. I hope that you can find your heart in storytelling.